Welcome everyone to the Dreambuildrs podcast. I am super excited for this upcoming interview where we're going to talk about pursuing dreams, envisioning your ideas into reality, and how you can also finally live more abundant and free. And I'm absolutely delighted to introduce to you Dorothea Gordon. Now, she is a retired high school teacher for foreign languages, and she's also the author of the inspirational memoir, When Life Has Other Plans, Discover the Hidden Gifts. She's also a certified transformational life coach, and she helps individuals, especially women, who are at crossroads in their life to pursue their dreams with passion and power. So, Dorothea, thank you so much for coming on the Dreambuildrs podcast.
Thank you for picking me. It's really my dream to speak to as many people as possible about building their dreams, because I'm not just a transformational life coach, but I'm a certified dream builder coach. And when I saw your ad in the podcast.com, I thought, here's somebody who would be on my level. And so I applied. And thank you for having me.
That definitely resonates immediately. So thank you so much for coming on. And let's dive in because we have 30 minutes. I would love to know, I think this is something interesting, what the underlying reason for you is, and really looking at your purpose for you to start helping individuals to really make changes in their lives right now after you retired as a school teacher. I'm very interested to know more about that.
Yeah, the situation was such that not only was I working as a school teacher, but I also trained as an alternative practitioner. So I studied energy healing and auricular ear acupuncture. And people would come to me and say, well, I have this pain and that pain, can you help me? Which I did, but at the same time, they were telling me their life stories and all the things that were not working and were wrong and so on. When I realized that their symptoms, their physical symptoms, were expression of their inner discomfort. And once I could see the connection between attitude or thoughts and physical expression, I thought, well, if I can combine that and being an educator, teach people that the way they think and perceive the world around them has a major impact on their health, I decided that was what I wanted to do. And it gives me purpose and great rewards to see, that I can make a difference in people's lives.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's beautiful, especially for people at your age to still keep going. And I love all the endeavors that you have, because you also you wrote a book, When Life Has Other Plans, Discover the Hidden Gifts.
I don't know how you can say. But
would you perhaps tell a little bit more your motives for writing that book and ultimately what people can get out of it?
My motive was actually encouraged by people in my workshops, in my presentations, in my courses that said, you have such interesting stories to share. Why don't you put them in a book? And I had learned that when you entertain people with stories, they pay attention a lot better. So in November 19, I sat down and started writing, and then COVID came. And for me, unfortunately, or fortunately, the quiet time that followed, because Zoom hadn't been invented yet in the masses, I had no courses, no presentations, no workshops. I had all the time. So I wrote that book, and I realized that in hindsight, all these challenges and adversities I had to go through in my life were really were gifts in many ways. And I was hoping to share these stories so other people could see themselves in them, maybe not in the same situation, but in a similar situation, and realize that they can get out of them, that there are ways of allowing yourself to feel the discomfort, but also realize that they're unseen forces, I always call them, angels without wings or angels with wings, that come to our help if we are open. But if we think that we have to do it all ourselves, we push and we struggle, and then it's much harder to get anywhere than when we say, okay, my motto was, oh God, I can't do it. What do I do? Help, 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 universe. And then all of a sudden, strange situations came in, And they're called synchronicities. Unexpected, helpful events appeared in my life. And I could write a book on them, how many of them have helped me over the humps. But at the same time, you know, these adversities that I experienced helped me to grow inside. And this is actually, I think, why we're in these incarnations, so that we grow. And if we have no challenges and no adversities, we just sit there like bumps on a log, and you know, nothing happens. And it's a chance to say, yes, I don't really like this, but what's in it? You know, what am I going to learn out of this? And having purpose, as you mentioned, is so important for many people, because they tend to lose their purpose, or they're not sure about them, the purpose. And if you look at, you know, why you have dreams, you know, why do you want to have dreams? It's usually because you're facing challenges, or you're in pain with what you're currently experiencing. And that then translates into health and well-being. You know, what challenges do I have in health and well-being, in love and relationships, in career or jobs or self-expression, and in money and time management. So when you look at those things, they're all in my book. The career challenges I had, the marital challenges, the health challenges, the endless stuff. But boy, with all the kicks in the behind, I had to move. And being like a jack in a box, falling over, getting up, falling over, getting up, is what has been such a gift. But at the same time, I was never alone. I always realized that there were people around me, or I call them spirits from the other side, that helped me get through these things.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that.
Okay.
I found it interesting that in the beginning you were saying about COVID, and how that actually, you know, helped you to kickstart and writing that book. That, like, for me, when COVID came, I started my podcast, so I really had to think about that as well. You know, it's interesting when these things come on our path, that we start, you know, looking for other things.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting.
Those are the gifts. Those are the gifts. You know,
Yeah.
on the outside, it looks like, oh gosh, I don't like that. On the other side, you know, we can make something out of it that is of benefit to us, ourselves. Like, I feel very happy being able to do that with you. And you also are contributing to the education and joy in other people's lives. Yeah.
Yeah. One other thing that I found interesting that you were talking about was that you were talking about discomfort, and allowing yourself to feel that comfort, that discomfort. If we like zoom into that a little bit, because obviously you wrote about it in your book, how can people break through the discomfort? Do you have like kind of a process for that, or do you have like a tip for that, so that people can break through those barriers of the discomfort that they feel in their lives?
Right. Well, first of all, they have to be aware in what area the discomfort is. And then they have to realize that they can either be pushed into a life by default, or they can be pulled by a vision. And again, you know, asking themselves, where would I like to make the changes? And the important thing is to also realize that we have all gifts and skills that we have acquired through our life, or have come into this life with, and to integrate those into the dream that we have, you know, so that we don't just go from being a teacher into a locomotive conductor or something like that, but, you know, use the fact that you speak well, and that you like to teach people, and these kinds of things. When I teach my courses, I always say, look at your core values. You know, what core values do you have? So, like, what's important to you? You know, is it integrity, honesty, contributing, compassion, these kinds of things? Then what are your passions? What creates fire in you that you say, oh, you know, I really want to do that. That would turn me on. And thirdly, look at the gifts and talents and skills that you have that you can bring into this dream. And one of the most important things is look at the subconscious processes that are going on inside you, the subconscious program, because you can want all the dreams that you, and tell yourself that you want them. But if deep inside you, there is a little voice that says, you don't really deserve this, or you're not good enough, then you struggle, you really struggle. And by accepting the fact that, yes, maybe I feel that way, you can at the same time then list all the things why you deserve the dream, because you want to make a difference. And making the difference, I think I've mentioned before, Eckhart Tolle says that if a course of action is in alignment with what the universe wants, it will be empowered. So if your dream is not just for yourself, you want that car, you want that house, but it would also make a difference to someone else, the universe steps in. And to me, that's always the most miraculous thing, that I know I don't have to do this by myself, but there are forces around us that can and are out there, standing there waiting to help us. And one of the other important thing is watch where your thoughts go. Do you spend a lot of time thinking about the things that are not right in your life, or do you think about the things that are going right? Most of us tend to be negative and say, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. But in my courses, I always teach that there's something called the results formula. And that starts with your thoughts create feelings. When you have thoughts, you create chemicals in your body, and they create the feelings. Now, if you have good thoughts, you create chemicals that make you feel good. If you have negative thoughts, you may be angry and you feel like, it's not very helpful. But the chemicals that are produced that way often have a detrimental effect on your health. And that's why people, unless they change their thoughts, come back in 6 months to my practice and say, oh, it's come up again, because they haven't changed the way of thinking yet. But these feelings then have to be expressed into action. So when you have happy feelings, you feel like hugging someone, which is good for you and good for the other people. When you are angry, you feel like punching someone, or, road rage and things like that. And it affects you negatively health-wise as well. So these thoughts create feelings, feelings create actions, and these actions create results. So the results of the hug are very different than the results of wanting to punch someone. So taking these things into consideration gives you a better base to start your dream, building your dream on. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Dorothea. So you mentioned a couple of very interesting things. And if I remember it well, there was, you gave like kind of 3 steps also through your programs in helping people really to build their dream, is to identify your passion, really get to know your core values, and then ultimately, of course, what your talents are. And then you mentioned something about, our subconscious programming, which I think is very interesting, because this is often where we subconsciously also get stuck. By telling ourselves, indeed, you don't deserve this, what you said, and you're not good enough. Like, what will be the best way for us to not only to cope with it, but really to, first of all, get aware of these kind of nagging thoughts that are in our subconscious? Is there a way to get to know that better?
Sometimes when we look at other people and what we don't like about them, it also tells us what we don't like about ourselves. But those are our shadow sides that we won't admit to us. So when we have a situation where we, somebody has something that we'd love to have too, we feel envy. We don't really admit it to ourselves, but it can very well come from this feeling, well, they probably are more deserving than I am. And writing things down that come to you when you really are looking at all the things that aggravate you around you tells you more about your inner life than you can intellectually come up with. What's important is that subconscious program that runs our lives. And I mean, I'm still very much in this phase. For instance, I hate people who I say feel entitled. They feel entitled to do all these things and have all these things. And then I think, why does that get me so upset? Well, it's because I feel entitled to certain other things. They're not in the same region as they are, but I feel entitled. I am entitled to peace and quiet. Everybody should be quiet around me. When they mow their lawn and they have all sorts of noise machines. Mm-hmm. So, look at what makes you angry or frustrated with other people and see that in yourself. So I don't know whether that answers your questions, but what else could I say? Look at what's important to you. Look at your core values. What is important to you? What would you like to contribute to the world? What kind of things are you passionate about? Is it the environment? Is it climate change? Is it education? This kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. That also comes into the balance. And as I said, I teach that in my course, and I teach many older people, and they say, oh, I wish I had known that 50 years ago, 20 years ago, because I did not know that I had negative core values, and that I have passed those on to my children. So waking up, part of my work is to make people become aware of what's running their lives, that it's their thoughts, that it's their environment. And that's another thing. I have a section in my book I call in my gift to my readers, emotional hygiene, that you need to be aware of who you hang out with, what kind of vibrations they give off, because we are like receiving towers. We take in the magnetism of other people, and then it affects us. And I don't know whether you have had that experience when you've been with certain people. Afterwards, you feel so tired because they have sucked all the energy out of you. So becoming aware of that and saying, I don't need this in my life, surrounding yourself with people who feed you. And, sometimes you may end up with 2 or 3 friends. That's all that you can have in your life. Getting engaged with in activities that also nurture and feed you, such as, being out in nature, or watching some movie that inspires you, talking to people who are inspirational. All that can have a major effect on your way of life and the changes that you'll experience. I remember when I really seriously went into this dream building work, that I had to dump a whole bunch of friends, so-called friends, because I felt that they were no longer contributing to my life. So now I'm ready to make fewer but higher quality friends. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that has also been such a, surrounding yourself with like-minded people has been a huge game changer also for me in my personal growth journey over the last decade, where I consciously started choosing with who I want to hang out with, with who are really feeding me energy and feeding me, or helping me realizing my own dreams as well. And I think that is super important, that you, pick those kind of people around you. So, yeah.
But I would also like to add that sometimes people come into our lives and they are very important teachers. We don't like what they're doing. We don't like what they're doing to the environment or to us and so on. But they force us to go inside again and go to where our strengths are, and pull that out and say, okay, this is what I now see myself as. I need to change that, because those people are reflecting to me what I don't like about myself. It's called mirrors. And we even have mirroring genes that tell us that we are on the same wavelength as someone, with someone or not. So, it's important not to reject everybody, but learn from them. And I have people in my environment that constantly remind me to bless them, let them go, because that is a simple formula that your listeners may want to apply when there are situations or people in their lives that they can't immediately get rid of, to just bless them. I bless you and I let you go, because in that way you're doing them good and you're freeing yourself up, rather than I wish I could change this. No, you can't change it, but you can bless it and you let them go. And the interesting thing is, with the energy that you're freeing up, good things can happen to you. And I wanted to say that when it's the law of attraction, that as you focus more on things that are right in your life, you get more of it. So entertain those positive thoughts. See clearly. Clarity is also a very important factor in dream building, that you know what you really want and that you send that out to the universe. You know, send it out and say, this is something that I would really like, if that's to my highest good. If not, well, you know, send me something else. But also the patience that's necessary, that when you send this out, you have a certain idea of what it looks like, that the universe will maybe change that. And it often happens that the universe has to set up the players first for you to be able to experience what you want to happen. And if I just can interject here a little story. I was single for 17 years after my divorce, and then I decided I was going to get married again. And I said, okay, universe, I'm ready, you know, send me someone, It was very interesting the way, I don't know whether we have the time. Do we still have some time?
Yeah, go ahead.
My computer somebody broke into my house and stole my computer, so I had to buy a new one. And that laptop somehow was programmed with lots of online dating things. And I thought, oh, well, is that a hint here? So I went on an online dating, and they gave you 6 months for free. And if you couldn't find your love, then they gave you 6 months no, you had to pay for 6 months and then 6 months free. And I was already in month 11 when still nobody had shown up. And then I realized I had not put the right information in. I had put in what I didn't want, not what I wanted. And so I wrote what I wanted, and I said, if you don't like this, the reader, then you know, don't bother to reply. And then this reply came, or this profile showed up with a man with a dog, and there was a poem there, and I thought, this guy looks different. So I contacted him, and to make a long story short, he was from the east coast of Canada. He was just visiting on the west coast. He had to go back there, went back and forth. I was ready to dump him because he couldn't make up his mind, even though we got along very well. And then the spirit world moved in. And they literally stood in front of me and said, no, go, you have to be, you know, with this person. And I've been married to him for 7 years now. But it's just, you know, I hadn't expected for things to happen like that. But that's many of those things I write about in my book that were so unexpected and so unusual that I could not have done it myself. So be open to the way the universe has your back.
Now, Dorothea, I would love to know, because before you started your beautiful anecdote about meeting your new husband, you said, like, send your thoughts out to the universe. And I would love to know, like, do you have like a certain technique? Because you say, yeah, I can imagine, like, oh, just send it out, but like, how can you do that so that your, let's say, your visions and your ideas, like, turn kind of into reality? Yeah. Even though we don't know when it's going to happen, but like, is there a certain technique for it that you use, or?
Well, just a certain attitude, which is I surrender. You know, I have this dream. I would like to see that realized and manifested. And I surrender to the universe. I do what I can. You know, and that's important to every day take a little step. We don't know how. We don't need to know how to do it. The universe does that. We just need to know what we want to do. And every day a little step, you know, filling out some applications for podcast or, you know, sending out another letter, or going and give a speech, running into someone who is in a situation where I can relate to, and mentioning my book. Those are the little steps that you can take. It doesn't have to be anything big, just saying, you know, universe, I do what I can, and I leave it up to you to work in my highest interest. And many of us, you know, especially Europeans, we are pushy, push. we feel that we are in control. We are afraid of uncertainty. And when you realize a dream, there is a lot of uncertainty. And when you're in that situation, say, yeah, I don't know what to do here. Come on, help. And to me, it's always so miraculous. The next thing I know, something happens that I could not have arranged myself. So surrender and being willing to take on uncertainty. Those are my hints.
Wow. Being willing to take on uncertainty. Now, I think I'm going into my last question. I think that uncertainty is something very important. Like has been very important for me as well when I switched from corporate to entrepreneurship, which means also uncertainty. And so I would love to know from you over your very long career, like what has been like the most important factor for you to really, you know, embrace that uncertainty and just start living your purpose?
Mm. Uh, to me, it has been gratitude. You know, seeing how many of the things I can be grateful for. The little things in the morning, I wake up, I'm still breathing, I have a house over my head, a roof over my head, I've got money in the bank, and I celebrate that. And when I see other people who have what I would love to have, I celebrate that too and say more power to you. So being in a state of gratitude is about the highest level of energy and vibration you can be in. And what you're grateful for, you get more of. And if you're grateful for something that hasn't happened yet, but you feel that you deserve it, and you keep that in mind and in front of your eye all the time and say, I'm so grateful I finally got this house and it's so beautiful and I feel so comfortable in there and the wonderful people that are around me. I'm so grateful. To me, I do that all the time. So it's simple, but it is necessary to live in a state of awareness and be awake, because so many of us just go through the routines and we can't see our way out. And we realize that if we just focus on the little things that are good for us, and then like I have my students do exercises, you know, think back of situations where you felt really great, where you had a great success, and nourish that feeling, you know, feel good about it and say, yes, I did that and I deserve that and I can have more of it. So stay in gratitude and openness and surrender.
Thank you, Dorothea. I totally agree with that. I think that's beautiful. And also like what you said, like kind of like celebrating your wins, right? Because sometimes we just take things for granted that they happen or so, and you should celebrate what you have been through and the beautiful road that you're walking. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, for this wonderful conversation that we had about, you know, building dreams and the steps you can take to get there. I really loved all the insights that you provided. Now, before you go, I would love you to share, you know, what are the best places that people can find you and your work, and obviously also your book, When Life Has Other Plans, Discover the Hidden Gifts.
It's available on Amazon. It's When Life Has Other Plans, Dorothea L. Gordon. They can order it from there. And they can also go on my website called DTLC if they're interested in my course. I usually teach that on a Wednesday evening, and it's Introduction to Dream Building, which is, just the basics, sort of what we have discussed today, but more in depth. And I'm there. It's not something where people just have something to watch and then sort it out themselves, but you know, it's an interactive one. And then the people who are in the course also get to talk to each other. And they always say that's the most fruitful thing that they realize, because often people don't feel heard. You know, we talk, but in these courses, people talk to each other and they need to then repeat what they heard. The listener needs to repeat what they heard. And to the speaker, that is always very rewarding. So yeah, if anyone is interested in that, they can get in touch with me on my website or get in touch with me on my email, lifeplans@D for Dorothea, TLC, tenderlovingcare.ca. No, lifeplans@dtlc.ca. Yeah, I'd be happy to help anyone who's willing to.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dorothea. What I will do is I will drop your links in the show notes below so that people will automatically find you and your work, your book. Obviously, I'm going to encourage everyone to really follow Dorothea and her beautiful work. And once again, I would, really love to thank you for your time, for all the energy that you were bringing here, and for this wonderful conversation that we just had. So thank you so much, Dorothea.
And thank you for this opportunity, Jochem. All the best to you. Good health. I'll send you some good vibes.
Thank you.
Bye for now.